So, let me get this straight. If we get back your world beast, you will allow us to transport my world here so that it can feed on the radiation here.
Yes, we will.
The voice whispered to him as Delius asked the question. But I don't understand. If there are so many of you, are you telling me that all of you couldn't claim back your world beast? Even with an army?
The rule of three. The rule of three prevents it. Only three may pass. And offer challenge.
The voices rung out to them.
No others may pass through. We have gone through many times, and always meet only defeat. The being who resides there has great power. Great power. It claims it will only relinquish our world beast once three have proven themselves worthy.
The voices whispered out to them as their faces moved about, looking between the three individuals.
As we stand here now, I believe that the being beyond the gate waits for you. Waits for you.
Waits for us? Delia said. Why would it be waiting for us? Don't you get it? It all seems rather simple. A bit beyond coincidence, if you ask me. Ugh, I think I smell the stink of destiny. How I loathe it, Regimen said, putting his hand over his face, as if he suddenly developed a headache. What are you talking about? Jax replied, looking over to him. Don't you get it? This isn't a coincidence. There are many powerful entities throughout existence in countless different realms. Many of these entities deign themselves as gods, deities, and such alike, pulling at the strings of fate and destiny throughout all of existence in the countless realms therein, playing games with the lives of those they claim to be mortal. I've dealt with them before. They're always a nuisance. And here we find ourselves at a portal to some otherworldly place, on the other side of which seems to be some sort of powerful being that seeks challenge. And just by happenstance or coincidence, three individuals of great power assail this segment of space, seeking something, and the only way for us to obtain it now is to either take it by force from this race and their army, or do as they wish, pass through the gate and offer challenge to this being. Far too many times I've smelt the stink of destiny, these beings playing with our lives, trying to control where we go, what we do, what becomes of our fate. And yet again, we have reached one of these crossroads. It is not a coincidence that there are three of us and only three are allowed through the gate. Whatever being lies beyond it has set this entire situation up, or was aware that it would come to this, and so they're waiting for us, three challengers. So you think whatever's on the other end of that gate's waiting for us, huh? Well, Regimen replied to Jax, it's a distinct possibility. I find it far beyond coincidence that the numbers seem to line up so well. But the decision's up to you, of course. You're the one who contracted me. So I'm here fulfilling whatever ends you decide. We could always simply take what we wish. However, I highly doubt that is the path that you will choose. No, I can already sense the sympathy in your hearts growing. Oh, the plight of these poor aliens. What a nuisance. It always is. Don't you think you should have just a little bit more compassion? Delius replied. I mean, seriously, These people are trapped here. Without their world beast, they don't even have a home to live on. If they survive off the radiation that it produces, then the radiation that's in this sector is simply a dwindling resource that'll eventually fade away altogether, meaning they'll all starve to death. Don't you even feel a little bit bad about that? Why should I? Regimen replied, looking over to Delius. It's none of my concern, whether a race lives or dies. It has happened before, the death of entire races. And despite your presence or the absence of it, it will continue to happen. Pain, suffering, agony, and death are constants in all universes, all worlds and realms. There is no one who is beyond it. Feeling bad for everyone who's in a bad situation, spending your time, resources, and energy trying to save everyone, is a nice thought in theory. But in action, it only leaves you exhausted, weak, and vulnerable. One must always choose the battles which they must and must not fight. Because if you choose to fight them all, you'll never last. But that is not to say that I am without understanding. I assure you, more than most others, I understand the suffering that people and races scattered throughout all of existence can experience. I am not beyond it, feeling sorrow or remorse for the suffering of others. I simply cannot weigh myself down with it. As powerful as I am not powerful enough to cease all suffering in the universe. Suffering is simply a state of existence. Just as there is joy, there must also be pain. For if one did not exist, then truly would there be any meaning for the other. Delius grit his teeth for a moment. I really hate the way you look at the world. Oh, and how do you look at it? Regimen replied, scoffing a bit as he looked over to Delius. The world is full of suffering. All of these countless worlds and realms you speak of. Races scattered across all of existence. Did you ever think that perhaps you could set an example? Instead of simply avoiding all the pain and the suffering in the universe, if you have the power to do something about it, then why not do it? Help people. Your actions can inspire others. Others will begin to act in the same way. No amount of effort will completely eliminate suffering from existence. But through our efforts, we can at least minimize the amount. Yes. And next, we'll all have a Merry Christmas together and sing songs under the tree while unwrapping our Christmas gifts. And the elves will sing a tune in the background as well. What are you talking about? What is Christmas? And what are elves? You wouldn't understand it. I do. Jax replied, giving off somewhat of a chuckle. It's an Earth thing, Delius. You wouldn't get it. But that still leaves us with a massive problem. Now, we have to fight whatever the hell's through that gate. And no army to back us up. So if we don't come back through, we're pretty much at a standstill with everything.
You may pass back through,
the voices whispered out.
No matter how many times we challenge, the being on the other side never slays us. After our defeat, we emerge unharmed back through the gate and may enter again if we wish. But for us, the result has always been the same. Perhaps your luck will be different.
The voices whispered out. Jack sighed. Well, I suppose there's really no other choice. So, fight a monstrously powerful being from another plane of existence, anyone? If it'll get this nonsense over with, yes. Let's simply be done with it. You already know my answer, Delius replied. Fine. then the decision's made. We'll handle this being on the other end of the gate. But as you're part of the deal, if we're able to reclaim your world beast,
yes, we will allow you to bring his world here. Allow it. Allow it.
good. Hey guys, Jack said, speaking into the communication system. We're going away for a moment. We'll be back, hopefully with a world beast and a resolution to this situation. Yeah, roger that, the other Jack said, speaking from the ship. All right, boys. I suppose it's time to head out, they said as they peered beyond the 6 entities floating in front of them, who began to spread, separating out into groups of 3 to create a passageway, a gap that Delius, Regimen, and Jax could freely pass through.